In the year 1453, one of the most incredible sieges in all of history finally came to a head. For 53 absolutely brutal days, the ancient capital of the Byzantine Empire, the city of Constantinople, held out against a truly overwhelming force. Its fall wouldn't just end a 1,500-year-old empire, it would literally redraw the map of the world. So how did a 21-year-old sultan pull it off? Let's dive in.
First off, just look at these numbers. It's a total mismatch. On one side, you've got the defenders of Constantinople. They are outnumbered at least 10-1 in soldiers and nearly 5-1 in ships. They're basically counting on their ancient, legendary walls to save them. And on the other side, a massive, modern army with brand new superweapons, gigantic cannons. This just looked completely impossible from day one.
So why go to all this trouble for just one city? Well, because Constantinople wasn't just any city. For more than 1,000 years, it was the beating heart of the Byzantine Empire, the direct successor to ancient Rome. Now, by 1453, it was kind of a shadow of its former self, for sure. But it was still seen as the world's great prize, a powerful symbol of Christianity, and the literal gateway between Europe and Asia.
And the city was thought to be unconquerable for one main reason: its defenses. The Theodosian walls. I mean, these things were legendary. They had stood for over 800 years, turning away dozens and dozens of sieges. They were without a doubt the most formidable fortifications on the entire planet.
And now let's meet our main character, Sultan Mehmed II. When he took the throne at just 19 years old, leaders all across Europe basically celebrated. They thought, oh, this young, inexperienced kid, he's going to be no threat at all. They could not have been more wrong. Mehmed was brilliant, he was ambitious, and he was obsessed with one single, all-consuming goal: to do what his ancestors couldn't and conquer Constantinople.
See, Mehmed was smart. He knew that just showing up with a bigger army wasn't going to cut it. Those walls had seen bigger armies before and sent them packing. No, to win this grueling, drawn-out fight, he needed a modern, meticulous plan that blended strategic genius with some truly groundbreaking technology.
So even before the siege officially began, Mehmed made this incredibly smart strategic move. He built a fortress, the Rumeli Hisari, on the European side of the Bosphorus Strait. And its Turkish nickname, Bogazkezen, means two things: straight blocker and throat cutter. And that tells you everything, doesn't it? That's exactly what it did. It cut Constantinople's throat, choking off any chance of reinforcements or supplies coming in from the Black Sea.
Now, to actually break through those legendary walls, Mehmed needed a tech advantage, and he found it in a Hungarian cannon engineer named Orban. Now, the crazy thing is, Orban had actually offered his services to the Byzantines first, but they couldn't afford him. Mehmed, on the other hand, could, and he gave him a single mission: build the biggest, most powerful cannon the world had ever seen. The result was the Basilica.
And this is the weight of just one stone cannonball fired by that super cannon: 600 pounds. These absolute monsters could be fired over a mile, and they were designed to do one thing: smash those unbreachable Theodosian walls into dust. This was gunpowder technology, and it was about to make centuries of stone fortifications totally obsolete.
So, the siege begins on April 6, 1453. The giant cannons are pounding the walls day in and day out. But, amazingly, the city holds on. Between every single shot, the defenders would rush out and tirelessly work to repair the damage. So for weeks, the Ottomans were just stuck in this incredibly frustrating stalemate. It was a huge test of the young sultan's resolve. That ancient fortress, well, it still had plenty of fight left in it.
And a huge reason for that stalemate was this brilliantly simple piece of engineering called the Great Chain. It was just a massive iron chain that stretched across the mouth of the city's main harbor, the Golden Horn. And it completely blocked Mehmed's huge navy from getting anywhere near the city's weaker seawalls. It was a massive problem for the whole Ottoman plan.
And then, just to rub salt in the wound, came a moment of real triumph for the defenders. Against all odds, a small group of Genoese ships managed to fight its way through the entire Ottoman navy and slip past the chain into the harbor. For the city, it was this huge morale boost. But for Sultan Mehmed, it was a public humiliation, and he was, by all accounts, absolutely furious.
This is the moment where the 53-day siege takes its most incredible turn. Faced with a stalemate on land and being totally blocked at sea, the 21-year-old Sultan didn't give up. Instead, fueled by this personal fire, he came up with one of the most audacious, one of the most brilliant tactical moves in all of military history.
Think about it. The chain couldn't be broken. The Ottoman navy just could not get in. So how do you solve an impossible problem like that? What can you even do? Well, you don't solve it.
You go around it. In this unbelievable feat of pure willpower and engineering, Mehmed ordered his army to build a road out of greased logs over the hill next to the harbor. Then, using thousands of men and oxen, they physically dragged around 70 of their warships over land and then relaunched them directly into the Golden Horn. Can you imagine being a defender, waking up one morning and seeing the entire enemy fleet suddenly just there, in your protected harbor? They had completely bypassed the city's greatest naval defense.
The psychological blow from that move, it was just immense. With defenders now forced to guard the seawalls, their already thin forces were stretched to the breaking point. After weeks of bombardment and all these failed attacks, Mehmet knew the time was right. He was going to throw everything he had at the city in one final, all-out assault.
You can just feel the tension ratcheting up in these final days. Mehmet offers a chance to surrender, but the emperor flat out refuses. The final assault is planned down to the last detail. The entire Ottoman army is given a full day just to rest and pray, getting ready for what they're told will be the final push. And then, in the dead of night, in the early hours of May 29th, the attack begins.
And these were the defiant last words from Emperor Constantine XI. There would be no surrender. The 1,000-year-old empire was going to go down fighting right to the very last man.
Mehmet's final assault was brutal, but it was also a brilliant three-way of attack. First, he sent in his irregular, kind of poorly equipped troops. Their job? To soak up arrows and basically exhaust the defenders. Then came a second, better-trained wave, aimed right at the most damaged parts of the wall. And finally, after hours of fighting had worn the defenders to a nub, he unleashed his secret weapon, the elite, unstoppable Janissaries, to deliver the final killing blow.
And the walls were finally breached. After 53 long days, Constantinople had fallen. The news sent absolute shockwaves across the world. It was truly the end of one era and the dramatic, bloody beginning of another.
The fall of the city marked the definitive end of the Roman Empire. Just let that sink in for a second. An empire that, in one form or another, had lasted for nearly 1,500 years, was finally completely gone. The transformation of the city was immediate, and it was deeply symbolic. The grandest church in all of Christendom, the magnificent Hagia Sophia, was converted into a mosque. And the city itself, once the heart of Byzantium, was renamed and became the glorious new capital of the rising Ottoman Empire.
You know, there's this powerful story that when Mehmed the Conqueror finally rode into the city he had dreamed of taking his whole life, he was moved to tears by the sheer devastation his victory had caused. It's this incredible moment of reflection on the immense cost of his ambition. And that kind of leaves us with a final question, right? Was it the new gunpowder technology, those massive cannons, that finally broke the 800-year-old walls? Or was it the singular, obsessive, and brilliant will of a 21-year-old leader who simply refused to accept failure? Maybe it was the perfect storm of both.